Today, got a couple things to talk about. First up, I want to do a Wavelink 3 demo now that it is fully out and available for everybody. That's right, everybody to use. You do not need Elgato software or Elgato hardware in order to use Wavelink. And I want to cover some productivity apps, kind of narrow down what I'm looking at and go over their potential uses and how I would put them into a workflow type of thing. So first, Elgato did a bunch of announcements last week. One of those being that you can now download Wavelink 3 for free. It is out of beta. It is available to use. I highly recommend it. It is the easiest audio routing software that I've ever used, and let's get into it. All right, so this is my Wavelink 3, and you can connect a device if you have an Elgato device. Notice they do a good thing here. They say, hey, Elgato devices, if you have one, connect it here, and special controls will come up for that device. If you have a USB mic or a Wave XLR dock thingy and you plug your XLR mic into it, you can select it. You can put it in here. As you can see, I have a channel for my wireless micro. So all I have to do is plug this in, plug this part into my computer, and it goes, oh, you have these mics. Okay, I'll send the signal through for you where you want it to go. And it's just that easy. All right, so we have columns and rows in a way. So these rows here, you can create a channel. They call these channels here. And then I think these are mixes technically across the top. So you get 8 of these. If you have Elgato devices, they kind of reserved another 4 inputs for Elgato things. So you can have a total of 12. But what you do is you name the channel something, like I have chat apps and music, and then you just click add app. And as you can see, I have VLC, Discord, Zoom, all in one channel. And so you just bunch up like things that you want to go to different mixes. And then you select mix. You can go over here. Now you can create 5 of these across. So you just hit the plus sign and you can, comes up record mix. I can name this whatever I want. And now I have a virtual channel that I can add to OBS called whatever I want. I can also add an output. And this is real handy if you have, like I do, a hardware mixer. I have the Rodecaster Duo. The Rodecaster Duo has virtual channels that'll feed into Windows, and Windows will recognize those virtual channels. And what you can do is you can route your audio to these channels. So, for instance, I have my chat apps and music, right? So I have these 3 apps, VLC, Discord, Zoom, all together. They go to my main speakers as an output, which I have muted right now. But I also have this mix called secondary. And if I open it up, I have added the output by clicking here. And I chose from here, I have added the virtual output of my Rodecaster Duo secondary channel. And now when I play VLC, the music you hear, it goes into my Rodecaster Duo, and I can control the volume with the Rodecaster Duo slider, and I can put in effects via the Rodecaster Duo and do all the things with the Rodecaster Duo that I want to do. However, you don't need a Rodecaster Duo to use this or make it function in any way. It's just kind of an extra step. Like if you had Voicemeeter has a virtual cable little app thing that gives you an A and B cable. This is where you would add those if you wanted to use them in another app. So then when I go to OBS, I can add in either the Rodecaster Duo secondary channel like normal, or I can find the Elgato secondary output and put that in. So I could do either way. Most likely, if you don't have a hardware mixer, you don't have to do this step. This is just if you want it to go, if you want the audio output, like it says, if you want the audio output to go somewhere else, like maybe you want just this to go to a particular set of headphones or something. This is where you set that. And then you tell the headphones, hey, listen to this. You got pulled over for roadcasting once. The cop said I should not bait the other drivers, let alone reel them in. Nice, Rex. And then you have mix settings. You can always display the volume sliders, have the volume. Now, once you get your apps all set and where you want them to go to, all I have to do is if I want my chat apps and music to go to this stream mix, I just hit the plus button, hit the X. If I want to control the volume of this, I want to control the volume of this across all these mixes, I use this slider. Look at this where it says secondary and how it's going up and down. If I just want to manipulate the volume of this mix, or of these channels in this mix, I use this slider. Very easy to use. All right, let's get rid of this. Delete mix. Don't need it. So that's the basic use case. And then all you do is you tell whatever broadcasting software you're using, like OBS, it will say something like, it might say something else, but it'll say Elgato chats. And then you tell, and so you put the Elgato chats mix into your audio in OBS. It'll reflect whatever you name it up here. And now instead of having a separate audio channel in OBS for each app, I don't have one for VLC, one for Discord, one for Zoom. I have all three of these in one audio channel, in one mix. And then games, I just keep adding games. Well, I got rid of a few, but, so I have Hades 2, I have the Spirit City, and yesterday I was playing Tangy Tower Defense, so that's here too. And they say unavailable just because I'm not playing them currently, so they're not active. And you can easily look for apps, add app. Here's all the apps I can include, if I want to put Slack in, Microsoft Teams for some reason. Or you can just search and you can click and it'll add it. As long as Windows recognizes it as an app, it will hopefully appear in this list. And then you can add audio effects to these. So if I want audio effects on my VLC media player, on Discord and Zoom, I go here, click add effect, and there's some that come with Elgato, the compressor, the de-esser, the EQ, noise removal, or I have the NVIDIA broadcast noise removal thing too. I can select these. And if you want an overview of these, go to my YouTube, check out Tech Friday. Somewhere there's a video covering these different things, a compressor, a de-esser, EQ, noise removal, because you can also do these things here in OBS. And this is where I put in the reminder of, if you're going to add audio effects to things, only do it in one place. Either do it here or do it in OBS, but don't do it in both. Or I should say, don't use the same effect in both. So I have a compressor here. OBS also gives me a compressor audio filter. I don't want to have compressor and compressor, because then my audio is just going to sound bad. But if I like the compressor here and say I use the EQ in OBS, that'll probably be okay. But in general, for clarity, just pick one and use the audio filters only where you want them. It's really nice that Elgato provides these. And if you're not putting your mix into something like OBS, maybe you don't have extra audio filters to do it with. Plus, you can add VSTs, which are these little virtual programs that allow you to further manipulate audio. And there's VST2 and VST3. They have folders already designated on Windows and Mac. It automatically is there for you right now, even if you're not using it. There's a folder for VST2 and VST3. And when you want your effects on, just go there, you add the effect. And as you can tell, my wireless micro, when that's active, I have channel effects on. And so those activate when I'm using my wireless mic. There's also a couple cool things. Now, the other week, I mentioned that when you load in Wavelength, it might change your Windows defaults. But what they added was this handy little thing, Windows settings. I start the app at login, but lock default input device. So my default input is my microphone, dual main multi-track, and we'll get to that in just a minute. And then my preferred output is my speakers, wherever that is. And, color theme, same as system, updates. If you want to do the beta channel, you can. Effects. See, you have a folder in Windows, program files, common files, VST3. This is where your VST3s go. You can change it if you want, but this is the default. And there's all kinds of VSTs out there. Finally, I am so tired of having the input jump around like House of Pain is playing, right? It's pretty good. So they've added this since the beta, which is fantastic, and it just locks it in. And so now when I update Wavelength, I'm not as worried about these changing. I can just leave them as is. And if they do change, well, I can just change it back. It's not that big of a deal. But I like that. I can just say, hey, let's lock this. And then, for other things, you have a direct link to the marketplace if you want anything off of the Elgato marketplace that works with your WaveLink. And if you want a more compressed view, shrink mixes view, bam. Now you just have the channel view here. And then you can separate out by mixes. I just want the chat. So I have, these are the channels that are in the chats mix. So now they're just there. If I do main, it's going to show me everything, or back to all channels. And then we want to expand it back out. You double click those again, and there it is. And now if you have a Stream Deck, you can further mess with these. Bring up Stream Deck Plus because it has a dial. And so I'll go to my blank page here, and you can see I already set up some things. But there's the WaveLink plugin. You just go to the marketplace and download the WaveLink plugin, and you have all these options. And so I can, if you don't have dials, if you don't have a WaveLink Plus, you can have just the scroll bar here, and then when you press the button, it goes up and down, or I can use the dial, and I'll do the same thing. And so I put 2 in here, just to kind of show that off. Basically, you can put in, do you want to control the volume of the what they call a channel, or do you want to control the volume of the mix? So here, I'm controlling the volume of the mix, right? The secondary mix over here, that's controlling this volume. So it would control these 2 things. Or do I just want to control the volume of this particular channel, which is what this dial will do. And then you should be able to see it move here as I move it up. So you can select what you want on your Stream Deck. You can also do this handy little thing, which I'm still working on figuring out getting to work quite right, but it's neat that it's here. So if you go up here, export to Stream Deck. Okay, export for, well, we're on Stream Deck Plus, so let's export for the Stream Deck Plus. Include these mixes. Sure, I'll include all the mixes, why not? So and I say start export. Now I get this. On which device do I want to use this profile? Well, I already said Stream Deck Plus, so I want this on the Stream Deck Plus, but I can put it to any of these. You can even put it to virtual Stream Decks, and I'll say install. And now it's made a separate profile for me called WaveLink, right? I have WaveLink SD Plus as my usual one, where I have my usual commands. And you can rename profiles. Just edit profiles right here, and you can rename them. But WaveLink, and as you can see, I have a mute all. I have channels 1 to 3. If I click this button, here's the games, right? So here are, my speakers where I'm listening to it through. So I have volume for my headphones or whatever. And then this is the first 3 channels, the chat and all games, the browsers, the DaVinci Resolve one, the wireless micro, here's the games. And if I want to switch to mixes, I double click mixes. Now it's showing me that. So I go, okay, I just want the chat mix. I just want to affect the chat mix. So I click that. And then here's the 3 channels currently in the chat mix, right? Browsers, games, and wireless micro all are part of the chat mix. Then I want to go back to mixes. I hit the mixes button. I can go to the secondary. And you can see in the secondary mix, I have games muted. And here's the chat and other apps channel as well. And I can select where I want the audio to go for my listening. So you have options. And if I want to go back, I hit the mixes button. And you can move these around too. They don't have to be where it automatically goes. I can go back to all, and it separates them out. And notice that these are also individual pages as well. So instead of, I could click down here, or I could swipe along the little strip on the device and switch between all these mixes as well. But, I can hit mute all, and it just mutes everything everywhere. Then when I want to go back, I can do that. I can hit the up key. Now I'm back here. All right. So yeah, so you can just easily export your mixes right into the Stream Deck. And I wanted to show off another trick with Stream Deck while we're here. Let's see here. That's the main profile. So something you can do, which I didn't know this until I think yesterday I was watching a stream. So this is my page 4 on this, right? I can right click here. I can say copy, paste. Oh, wait, paste. There we go. And now this folder, well, now I have to move this over. But everything on this page is now a folder, and I can move this folder to wherever I want to and access this up. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Hi, Brian. Welcome on in. So yeah, you can make any page into a folder on any Stream Deck. That's pretty great. All right, so here I have weather, What's over here? Nothing. So channel level, you get to select all that, you know, mute, set, adjust. There's your, I can also just move to folder if I want this in a folder all on its own. You know, I drag an action. I say move this action to a folder and I'll do that. All right. So any questions on Wavelink 3, put them in chat. Otherwise, that is the basics of how it works. Jory, hello, welcome on in. Good to see you. Yeah, any question on Wavelink 3 or Wavelink 3 and Stream Deck? Put them in chat and we can talk about them. And that goes for the rest of the stream. If you happen to think of something, you don't, just because I'm moving topics doesn't mean, you know, you can ask those questions. That's fine. I'm okay with going back and forth on things. Need to sit down on a non-stream day and make the switch over? Yeah. And the great thing about it is it's free. You don't need Elgato anything to use it. So if it doesn't work for you, it was free. Just uninstall it. But I highly, highly encourage using it. It is, like I said at the beginning, it is the easiest way to route audio that I've seen so far. Now there are other machines to route audio and things. So if you had a Rodecaster video, now a Rodecaster video allows you to do audio mixes in the device. So you wouldn't use Wavelink 3 if you're using the full power of a Rodecaster video. You just do everything through the Rodecaster video software. So if you have something like that already, you don't want to also add in Wavelink to that mix, right? Also, in the event it doesn't work, export your former Wavelink profile for a quick restore. Yes, that too. They make that pretty easy as well. So yeah, if you stream, if you want to have better control over your audio sources on your PC, you know, maybe you're putting your video game console or stream games, or you're talking to people on Discord and you want them to have a different mix, you can do that very easily with Wavelink 3, right? And time for the headphone to fall out. I've used a lot of software and hardware for audio mixes over the years, and Wavelink came in and said, hey, we found the easy button. And yeah, it's right now, it's the best thing out there for audio routing. All right, moving along. Next topic, get the zoom up thing, is productivity apps. I've been looking into a few, as I'm going to highlight 3 here because there are a ton of productivity apps. And we all know I use Obsidian. Obsidian's great. It's my main everything, where all my writing goes, where all my TTRPG stuff exists, or everything's in Obsidian. But to kind of add to that, I was looking at some other productivity apps that would probably help out and be a good idea in my workflow. Obsidian, scandalous, unheard of, right? So I use Obsidian Web Clipper a lot for, you know, getting web pages into my Obsidian vault. So I was like, well, I like that. And then I go through and I get rid of the ones I don't need. But maybe if I use a different service to keep track of my bookmarks that I had more organization with, that could be useful. So I was looking at one called Zotero, which is much more than a bookmark manager. Oh boy, is it ever. It's free, and it's mainly used for research, where you can import a PDF and you can mark up the PDF however you want, and it'll save all the notes and give you footnotes, allow you to make sure you have all the information to annotate, to cite, to share, organize however you want. It provides, it can create references, this right off the website, creates references and bibliographies for any text editor. I'll show you the site here. You can sync if you want to, or but the sync is a paid thing, but otherwise it all exists locally on your machine. And so if you have a big research projects, Zotero might be the way to go, just to get the initial notes out. And then there are integrations of Zotero and Obsidian, so I could copy over notes from Zotero into Obsidian, where I would do the actual work of putting together a paper and everything. You can sync if you want to. You can leave your data behind. Nice. So Zotero is very powerful. And if you're into researching a lot of complex topics, you may want to organize those thoughts in Zotero first before moving on to another program. Finite, hello, welcome on in. Good to see you. Let's give you a shout out. Oh, that guy. Do that. Try to dodge the ban hammer. If you don't know, Finite Singularity makes some of the best OBS plugins around, and you should try them all out. They're free. The current one Finite's working on is a particle effect thing, so you can do teleporter things and some of the worst dad jokes around. Exactly. So check out Finite streams as a regular stream here on Twitch. Challenge accepted. You know they're good dad jokes as the punchline is always apparent. Yeah? Yeah. All right, we're going over productivity apps. So if you have any that you like, let me know. So the other thing for just bookmark organization I was looking at is called Raindrop. Raindrop. And there's AI stuff you can freely ignore, but it allows you to organize your bookmarks. As you can see, there is a paid option, no limit, starting to 0, unlimited bookmarks collection. Access even outside of a browser, which is great. Cross-platform, love to see it. And just to show you what the differences are, pricing, unlimited bookmarks, collections, highlights, devices, all sorts of integrations, app for everything. If you upload them, you get 100 megabytes uploaded. If you pay yearly, it is only $28, and this is where you get the AI stuff you can freely ignore, but you also get text search. It's a permanent library, so with the yearly, it will save a snapshot of the web page in your Raindrop. Otherwise, the free version just saves the bookmarks, which honestly will probably be enough for me if I were to do that. So as long as I get a view of my bookmarks like this, I'm fine. I don't need to see the whole web page. And that would help me organize, because then when I take the bookmark into Obsidian to write the research page or the tech thing I'm working on, I already have them organized, and I can keep them all in Raindrop, and then I break down the selection and have a subsection of these that are the most useful ones to whatever project I'm working on, and those make their way into Obsidian. So that's the idea for that. And Zotero looks like a good solution, but it might be a little too much for what I need it for. I'll probably go with Raindrop. Let's see, catching up. The Moleskine that I write in is your productivity app. Excellent. As a parent, you get a lot of experience with punishment. Yes. See, dad jokes, because they must have the quality of not being a new joke, give extra groans. Exactly. Dad jokes help ensure your kids are all grown up. Nice. All right. The other thing I wanted to look at is an app called Espanzo. Now, there are a lot of these sort of, I can't remember what they were called, but there are a number of these apps available. There's Espanzo. And what this does is you write out a thing and you give it a little keyword, and then when you need the thing, you just type in the keyword, like here, today is, and then they just put in :date, and the date automatically populates. So if you can create templates once. So, if you have like, for example, when I invoice and I'm invoicing the same company, I could make a template and just call it invoice, have it come in, change what I need for that month when I do the invoice, and it'll work out. And what I like about Espanzo is that it works cross-platform. I can use it Windows, Linux, and Mac, and it's free. So that is why I was looking at this one in particular. There are other ones, but they are paid, or they are like Mac OS only, something like that. So those are out for me. I use multiple devices that run multiple OSs. I need something that goes between them all. So yeah, that is the productivity apps I was looking at. 2/3 of your productivity apps are games, and then 4 notebooks. Awesome. I have a thing like that at work, but I can never remember my keywords, so now I just have a text file I copy paste from. Type Pilot is the one we have. Oh, Type Pilot. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, excellent. So yeah, there's a number of them out there. Find one. I was looking at Espanzo just because it works with everything. All right, finally, before we go to break, I do want to talk about the MacBook Neo, because reviews are coming in and they are mostly positive. It's an interesting device, and people are saying because they use I think it's the A18 chip that was in a previous iPhone, the RAM and the chip are one thing. They aren't a separate piece. It's just all one integrated circuit board. And so, you know, maybe they had a bin of these chips. They just open up the bin and start putting them in machine. But even with just 8 gigs of RAM, people are saying how snappy it is and how it can get work done. Now, if you're looking to spend $600 on a laptop, probably I would recommend the MacBook Neo. According to reviews I've seen, it looks good. You know, it looks like a more premium device. It handles the everyday task. People have opened multiple tabs, running multiple apps on it, and can switch between them pretty easily. So if you just need a secondary machine, or you're not doing heavy video editing or heavy photo editing, MacBook Neo will probably serve you great. And that's what the reviews are shaping up to be. And also what I find interesting is that MacBook Neo runs Mac OS, and that Mac OS can run on 8 gigs of RAM. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I mean, that is basically what they're showing, and everyone's really liking the device. Some people push it to the limits, like, okay, I can edit on here. I can edit 1080p video. One guy even was running 4K footage, but it drains the battery quicker, and, you know, it's just not the device for that. But everyday tasks, great. And I found someone who was clever, and they compared it to the MacBook Neo to a Windows laptop and a Chromebook, because a lot of the reviews I've been seeing are like, well, what's the difference between this and, say, a MacBook Air, other than the price and what they do and what their capabilities of. But everyone's doing that. So those aren't, if you don't know what the MacBook Neo is for at this point, it's not for heavy creative work. It's for the everyday things. Like if I didn't edit video and other things like that, and I just stuck to my writing and did TTRPG stuff, I would probably be happy with a Neo, because I wouldn't need the power of a MacBook Air. Plus, you know, with people getting upset on Windows and everything, macOS is a good option. You can use a lot of programs that aren't in the Apple paywall thing, like Obsidian is cross-platform. You can use all your Microsoft Office things on macOS. And so here is a YouTuber who has compared a MacBook Neo to a Windows laptop and Chromebook. So bookmark this for after the show. Watch here first. We're still going. But yeah, and so this is a pretty good review comparing the specs between a Windows laptop and a Chromebook that are about the same price range as the MacBook Neo. And the MacBook Neo just blows them out of the water. But you can take a look at that, decide for yourself. It's such an interesting product. Really like it. All right, gonna wrap up Tech Friday there. If you are joining me live on stream, stay tuned. There's more to come. If you're watching this later on YouTube, I'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a great week.